Welcome to episode 217 of the Necronomicon.com. I am James Sabata, horror author, screenwriter, co-host of the podcast you're listening to right now. And today I'm going to solve one of the biggest mysteries of Australia.
And I am Don Guillory, author, historian, educator, co-host of the podcast. And I got to say something. Sometimes that demon, it looks right into you, right into your eyes. The thing about a demon, they've got these lifeless eyes, black eyes, like a doll's eyes. When they come after you, they don't wait. Oh, wait, that's Jaws. My bad. All right.
My good Lord.
That's pretty good, but
I kind of wish we had video so that you could have seen my face. Anyway.
Did your eyes roll over all black?
No.
Like a doll's eyes?
So joining us today, Zachary Ashford is here. Zach, I'm sorry we didn't write better jokes for the beginning.
Hey, speak for yourself.
Okay. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that. That was great. I was like thinking, oh God, does he know all of this? I'm like, it's impressive.
Right? It's like a full monologue. I'm doing wonderfully. How are you guys?
Yeah, good. Yeah.
So, Zach, why don't you tell our listeners a bit about yourself, man, and your books and all that good stuff?
Sweet. Well, obviously, I'm Zachary Ashford. I've got a few books out now. The new one is coming out November 19. I don't know if that'll be out or not by the time this goes. I guess it's quite possible or likely. So write horror stuff. First novel is the one that's coming out. Like to speak and talk and do all the things that people do as well as write. So, yeah, that's me.
Fantastical. So before we get too far into this, I want to solve this mystery that I have with Australia that I just mentioned. When you were here before, you did Sissy. And in Sissy, there's a kangaroo that's in the middle of the road. And they run it over and put it out of its misery. And in this movie, there's a kangaroo in the middle of the road, and they talk about running it over and putting it out of its misery, but they don't. What is the proper etiquette when this occurs?
So this is actually a really interesting one. And I know it sounds really dumb. I'm just going to look at the actual thing. RSPC actually has these guidelines for this, and you see it, right? So I've just opened up, this is Cars Guide that's come up first. When you see kangaroo on the road, which is all the time, what they say you're supposed to do is check the pouch, which is I've never done. As a kid, I probably would have done it if I had more of an opportunity, but, Dad was never going to stop the car. But yeah, they say you should check the pouch and see if there's a joey in there. Same with like koalas and stuff as well, because often they find that one of them gets hit and the baby's in there. I just think of that episode of The Simpsons where Bart gets out of the pouch and it's all gooey and gross. So that's probably why I haven't done it. But yeah, I think, and the reality of that, I know this is going to make me sound terribly, terribly bad. But if I do that and then I find the joey, like I'm on my way to work, I've then got to call work. I've got to say, I'm going to be late. I just found a kangaroo on the side of the road and I checked its pouch and there was a joey in it. So, and then they're like, dude, what are you doing? So, yeah. It seems terribly inconvenient, but that's what they do suggest you should do. So, yeah. There you go. There's actually a real answer to that, which you probably weren't expecting.
I did expect a real answer, but that's not the answer I expected, and I hadn't even considered that. Yeah. What were you going to say, Don?
I was going to say with the deer and everything like that, like here, it's not an issue. There are people that are sent to go pick up the deer carcasses that have been hit by semis or cars or whatever. But there's no protocol for you to actually, or at least no protocol I know of, to where you take the deer off the road. I think you would just call somebody and call the police. I mean, like if there's a dead deer in the middle of the road or the highway, I'm sure you would call someone, but there's no protocol as far as, hey, you pick it up and move it to the side of the road.
Yeah, in terms of have I ever seen anyone doing this? No, I haven't. Look, I'm sure it happens. I'm also pretty sure that on most of these roads where it's happening, no one's really going to stop their car and get out and do it. I mean, truck drivers probably aren't. They're on their tight deadlines and methamphetamines. They've got to get to where they're going. You know, so yeah. But I know most people are just too busy, I think. But I'm sure there are lovely people out there who do it. I can't say I ever have. So yeah.
We're friends outside of all this. And one of my favorite things about being friends with you is you will tell me stories about Australian animals that seem so like exotic and special to me because of how the US portrays them. And you're like, fucking wallabies in my yard, you know? And I love that so much. But I don't know. It never even occurred to me that kangaroos would just be like run over all the time. Like you just said it, like we look at deer, like Don said. And when I watched these two movies, I was like, geez, is this a major problem? And apparently it is. So there you go. I've learned something new.
I think it's funny that they both featured it. Like, because when I saw it in this, I was like, oh, I wonder if this, like, because Sissy came out first, I wonder if they're like, oh, we've got to change that scene or whatever. Obviously, they're not because it ties in really well. But look, I think the way to say how common it is that there's someone whose job it is to just spray the carcasses with spray paint to say, yes, we know about this one.
Wow.
Okay.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
And then there's part of me that's like, do they just do this in these movies to announce that it's in Australia so that dumb Americans like me who had no idea that Talk to Me was Australian before I watched it, like, is it just a way to like tell stupid Americans, hey, asshole, this is where we are? You know, I don't know.
I think Screen Australia has the kangaroo clause where if you put one in the movie, they pay you more.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously we know some of the reasons, but why did you pick Talk to Me today?
I think I've sort of talked about this a few times, but I think that we all have a duty when we come from, places on the other side of the world that are so far removed from everything to like celebrate and champion that a bit. So that's a big part of it. Could I pick an Aussie movie that would be good? And I could probably put an Australian lens on at times, but also like it's just a really cool movie. It seems to have been done really popular. It's been done really popular. Speak English. It's done really well, obviously, and I think I've probably been a bit surprised by how like everyone was just like, "This is amazing," on social media. And we wanted something that was going to see if it could break the Elon stranglehold on getting links shared, right? So
yeah, no kidding.
We thought people like this one; they might want to talk about it a bit more than an obscure one.
Well, fantastic. Yeah, no, you mentioned how popular it is on social, and this is like the opposite of what we normally see with every horror movie. Anything that gets released is just the biggest piece of shit I've ever seen, man. And this was so opposite. Like everyone on social was talking about how great it was, and the couple times I saw somebody say they didn't like it, like they got eaten alive, and I was like, this is so weird. I'm so not used to seeing horror people actually happy. This is strange, and it was wonderful. Yeah. There was none of the normal divisiveness like when Malignant dropped or those. So
you are on one side or the other. And then there are fools like me who are kind of like, it was okay. I mean,
yeah, I think
you have to hate it. You have to love it.
Yeah, I thought if you watched Malignant through this lens of like, it's a cheap, cheesy 80s horror film today, it just makes it so much more fun, right? Like that's what I felt like a real throwback to some of those really like practical effects heavy, dumb 80s movies that I just enjoyed the shit out of. And we're just going, what is this? What am I watching? This is great. But I guess some people go, what am I watching? This sucks. But each to their own.
I try not to overly care because the stuff that I really love, I feel like everyone's like, that's really dumb. What are you doing? So I don't know. I just don't really overly let it affect me if people like things or dislike things. And I'm always amazed by how insane people get about these things and how they'll fight. And it's like the movie's been out for like 6 hours and you have to have picked a side already, It's so weird.
Yeah.
Just how social controls that shit.
And I think, like, I don't know, like for me, I know you read spoilers, but like even though spoilers, just really negative opinions can really like sway my enjoyment of a movie beforehand, because they kind of get me thinking, oh, hang on, what is it that people are finding crap about this? What is it? And sometimes I think I'm pretty easy to impress. I think like I'm a director's dream for watching a movie. I'm just gonna go, yeah, this I'm just absorbed by it, I'm just taking it. Unless it's like really, really fucking stupid, like the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Like most of the time I'm pretty easy to impress. Or a blue car. But yeah. Sorry, I don't know if this is Simpsons references. And
I love it.
I haven't seen the new Exorcist movie because everyone's just like, it's shit. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I'll just wait till it's on a free-to-air streaming platform at some point rather than drop my money on it. And it's a shame because I think if I hadn't seen all that negative stuff, I would have gone and watched it. Because it's just what we do a lot. We go to the movies and watch them a lot, my wife and I. So interesting.
Don, I think you can attest to this. I think I'm the opposite. I think when I see people absolutely love something, I'm like, no, it can't be that good. And when people absolutely hate stuff, I'm like, I'm going to tell you what's great about it. And it becomes like this, this need to just be an asshole and fight back. Right. And then at the end of the day, I don't actually care. I have this really weird thing. I don't know if I've ever talked about it on the show, but I talk about it a lot at panels and in real life. Just I care so much more about the writing and the journey of making something, and the final versions of things don't mean as much to me. So like I enjoy a book way more if you send me your first draft and I get to talk to you about like how we can tweak it and make it better and like open doors for you to try to like maybe follow this character and see what else they're doing. I enjoy that stuff. And then the final book, I'm like, man, that's great. But it doesn't mean as much to me as it does to other people. And that's a long way of saying I think I have the same problem with movies, but this need to fight back with people like gives me a reason to pick a side and like try to find something fun to talk about.
Well, you appreciate how the sausage is made and not necessarily that you have to have that.
I saw what it went into the sausage. No. But yeah,
I'm just going to leave that one alone.
I set you up so well. Darn it. But yeah, so Don, which one of those would you be closer to? Like, do you, I don't know, like, how do you feel about all of this?
For this movie, or you mean in general?
Just any movies in general. Like, are you picking a side 6 hours in, or are you fighting back, or what are you doing?
Here's the thing.
Or are you totally swayed or whatever?
No, I've subscribed to the belief of, which I brought up on this show, and I might have brought it up, previously when Zach's been on, where it's what I like, what I eat won't make you shit. What you eat won't make me shit. And that's how I look at it. Like, sorry, I'm not gonna, I don't mean to offend any Swifties, but I probably said this before. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but I'm not gonna shit on her music, her fans, or anything like that. It's like I just don't like it. Other people like it. It's not for me. And the same thing with like Hereditary. When it first came out, I did not like it. But hearing what other people liked about it made me go back and think about what it was that didn't work for me in the film. And then I went back and there were certain things I looked at and was like, well, I like these aspects of the movie. I can rewatch this one again with a new lens. It's not going to make me, somebody sitting there and raving about the movie as some people did, or completely dog the movie as some people did, but it's going to make me look at it and appreciate some qualities about the movie that I hadn't, just as somebody would bring up qualities about another movie or a musician or a television show. And that then gets me interested in seeing not necessarily what the appeal is, but see exactly what might vibe well for me. Where James's favorite movies, or one of his favorite series, is the Saw series. I'm not a big Saw person, but I can appreciate the storytelling. I can appreciate the way in which things develop over time, the fandom. And again, I'm never gonna crap on a fandom of something unless you are just a horrible fandom. But I mean, that's kind of what I felt with this movie, where I wasn't I wasn't blown away by it because it wasn't one of those things where it's like, oh my God, this is right in my wheelhouse. This is what I'm looking for. Whereas, some people who love slashers don't like psychological thrillers, or some people like psychological thrillers, don't like I don't know, body horror or something along those lines. Like, they have the things that they like. So going into this movie, I was like, well, all right, it's going to deal with possessions, demons. That's typically kind of the things that I like. I like to see how they work. I like to see how they work culturally, because especially when you change things around, and it's not, in this sense, it's not an American audience. It's not an American film where it's like, hey, we know what the rules are. We know how to play with the Ouija board. We know how to do all these things. Where I forgot where I was going with that, but it still has those universalities when approaching your audience, to where you kind of you get thrust in this movie very quickly, and you understand what the stakes are. You understand what's at play. You understand what can go wrong, because, well, one, it's a horror movie. Some shit better go wrong. It better go very wrong.
No, I kind of feel the same. You were talking about how people like, we have our subgenres that we like or don't like. And I do not like possession movies. I've never seen a possession movie that made me care about it. And this is the closest. And I think it's because of the difference in how it's told versus the usual. Like I won't even sit down and watch anything that involves the Catholic Church getting a demon out, because fuck that shit at this point. And this didn't feel like that. Like, there was a new way to go about it. There was a different type of possession almost. So I would say, as odd as this is, that this is my favorite sort of possession movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, hey, because I think a lot of time when we're picking movies at home, like, you'll scroll and you'll be like, oh, I'll be the same, but it's just a possession movie. It's just a haunted house movie. And those really
right.
Templated ones, like, I've seen them a million times. They're all, if not the same. And I would like something to just be a little bit different, because I didn't even really think about this as a possession movie until, I guess more recently, because I go in blind to movies most of the time. I had seen the trailers for this. And I was like, oh, this looks really cool. Like, so there'll be some shit happening and blah, 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 blah. But I've got to say, like, our first viewing experience of it was far from ideal. We actually just went to one of the local cinemas. We usually go into the city and try and avoid kids at the cinemas and all that kind of stuff, because they're annoying, right? And of course, we went to the local cinema, which is like, $10 ticket. It's down the road. And we just watched it. And it was the biggest fucking mistake, because there was these teenagers in there, those damn kids, old man shaking his hand at the clouds, but they just wouldn't shut the fuck up. And like, I don't know, I'm really old school with that kind of thing. Like shut up in the cinema, turn your phone off. And I was sitting there, and like, I was kind of like, most of the movie, I'm just like seething with these annoying brats. And like, you can see my wife, like, and I'm just like, I can't even pay attention because they're pissing me off so much. And then during one of the big scare scenes, one of the girls did like a natural scream, like, because she was scared. It's a pretty like scary movie at times.
Yeah.
And then these other fucking dickhead kids, that's a horrible thing to say as a teacher, but they started like mimicking the screaming. And it was like just being in a classroom on supervision where the kids aren't behaving themselves on the last day of term. And I actually ended up going, "Oi, shut the fuck up!" across the cinema. And then other people like started telling other people in front of them they were being rude and stuff. And like, so, and I knew I really dug the movie, but I also knew some fundamental like awesomeness and immersion that the movie offers was like not there. So I'm watching it again the other night. I actually watched it with my earphones in because my wife had gone to bed. It was quite late, and I like to watch movies really loud. And and so I was watching it with my earphones in, and it's like all the sound design elements and stuff. I was like, yeah, okay, this is actually really cool to just be immersed into. I really did miss that trick the first time. But yeah, I think it's definitely one that drops you right in it. You know straight away, and I think it's a very immersive film, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, I think that watching it in a theater would have helped me like it even more, just because of exactly what you're talking about. Like, I kept having stuff happen, so I would pause and come back, and it ruins that whole vibe, right? And but then I'm also like, I think I could have gone with either theater experience, whether it's the totally silent, completely immersed, or listening to these kids, because I don't know, sometimes I really enjoy what that adds. So I could have gone either way, but I do feel like the way I did it didn't work as well as either of us would have.
Yeah, I got to say, these kids weren't just chatting with the movie. There was a couple of, they were just chatting. It was like,
oh yeah, no, that's different.
Yeah, that if they were just enjoying them, because we sometimes go to movies and, you know, like they're just fun and everyone's involved and they're reacting. We saw Troll 2 at the cinema recently, and it was a great time for everyone. But no, this was just people like coming into the cinema and just talking through it. Like, you've paid for this movie, watch it, shut up.
No, that's different.
Yeah, very different kind of vibe. But yeah, no, anyway, I've waffled too much. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say that was always the rule I had, which was you come in here, you eat your popcorn, your snacks, or whatever, drink your soda, shut up, watch the movie. Because there are certain movies where it is going to ruin the experience. But if you have, let's just say you have an interactive audience where, you know, it's jumping at the jump scares, or of course, laughter, screaming, all those things where you kind of like, oh, this actually enhances my experience, as opposed to, oh yeah, did you see my new Instagram post? I'm like, no, shut up.
yeah,
like,
exactly. Right. Yeah, and like, I think I'll talk about Catholic possession movies. I remember seeing Conjuring 2 as a packed cinema, and like some of those jump scares, we're getting everyone, you know, like Ramona, my wife, pretty much pooed her pants in one of them, and like, you know, like it's like, you know, you're just like, this is great, everyone's there. But no, that different kind of, we're just hanging out and there's a movie on. It's like, dudes, you're annoying, and I'm a grumpy old man, so yeah,
we all are.
Yeah, right. That's the prerogative. But yeah,
we can change the podcast to that, Don. We can just be grumpy old men talking horror. That'd be great.
No, grumpy old bastards. That's what we should be.
Oh, there you go. Anyway, so let's jump into the actual. I like being sued. Thank you. That's why I'm releasing Trumpus, a book about Donald Trump. Now then, but let's jump into the actual movie. Zach, like, walk us through some of what you want to talk about, man.
Yeah, okay, sweet. I guess when I think about this movie, I've done a bit of reading and stuff on it. I think one of the commentaries, I don't want to follow down this route too much, is the social media aspects of it again are in here quite heavily, as I think are pretty pertinent to most young people today. I think that's really, really, I mean, we talked about it last time, so I don't want to overdo it. But it's a real threat to, I think, the way they interact and their personalities and their character assassination that can come with that sort of thing. But and the really obvious one, actually, when I was thinking about, okay, what am I going to talk about? I'm really lucky that I work at a school where the kids are really great. It's a invitation school. It's basically an academy, and like, these kids hand in work, and apart from like having to look at structures, which I can help them with, they're smarter than me and they know more than me. And so one of them had been talking to me about this film not too long ago, and just the other day I said, "So, hey, Arash, what is this about? Like, tell me what you think Talk to Me is about." And he's like, I guess the most obvious one is the addiction, the drug stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. Let's watch that, because and especially on the second viewing, if you're looking at it for that stuff, it's like super laid on pretty thick. And and that's fine. I think that's a valuable kind of thing to talk about. But the way it's done, I think it's really hits home, because it's not just this preachy kind of thing about it. It's a really cool metaphor, and it really delves into, I guess, if you're going to analyze a text on a level of why are people doing things, and you come to that sort of Maslow's hierarchy, it's that need for connection, that need for other people, and the grief that's kind of driving Mia's journey in this film.
Right.
But yeah, so I guess that metaphor, if people haven't seen it, I'm sure they've probably seen the poster and stuff, is that the hand is this social kind of party event where the kids grab it, they say, "Talk to me and I'll let you in," to the demons who are there, and then they get this rush of euphoria as they're possessed for a brief amount of time, and there's a limit to how long you can do it, because too much is a bad thing. And so straight away, if you explain all that, it's pretty, the metaphor is right there. But I think what it does really well is look at what is actually causing that and how that can be a vehicle to further, the destruction or the horror in someone's life, and what that does to everything around it, and how that can, the peer pressure and everything that evolves from that, I think is pretty well managed in here, even if some people say it's laid on a bit thick. So that's kind of the lens of it. Yeah, that's the lens I've looked at it through.
I spent 4 or 5 years working as a case manager at a drug and alcohol rehab center. And the number one thing I learned there is people don't become addicts because of drugs. They start using drugs because of something else in their life. And so you become an addict because of your core problem. And the way to stop using is to work on that core problem. That way you don't need the drugs. And when you put it in that context with touching the hand and how Mia becomes obsessed with it and looking for her mom and all these things, like that's her core problem. Her core problem is that she misses her mother, that she feels abandoned by her, that she, doesn't know if her mom killed herself or not, or whatever else. And so she doesn't use the hand to keep using the hand. She uses the hand to get to what she thinks is her mother. And I find the way that they did that, the way that they made using a symptom of whatever else is wrong in your life was just beautiful.
Yeah, I thought I really enjoyed that as well. So and
then obviously she used other drugs, but it's right. But I kind of like that too, because those other drugs weren't working. But this one, as far as she can tell, is absolutely working for exactly what she wants, and that's fascinating in itself.
Yeah, and I think that
it's giving her the high that she needs.
Yeah, right. And the demons are really playing on that. That we're doing this for you, and then they use that as a way to like leverage her own trauma to guilt her into doing things. And I think that kind of, again, that metaphor of how once it's the cycle, you've done it to get this, it's given you this, now you've got to do it again. And the more you do it, the more you like doing it. And you actually see throughout the movie a few times where she's having like a bit of a breakdown or a moment where she just is longing for that connection and it gets too much. There's one where she's arguing with the dad after getting the letter, which actually is the big reveal that it wasn't an accident from her mum's death.
Right.
And like, she committed suicide. And she's like, I'll be back in a minute. And she just runs into the room and does it. And it's almost like, has to run in and get that hit to kind of reconnect, as the ghosts or the demons have been saying, it's not true. It's not true. And they're there. And the way they're used is actually really cool as well. There's a lot of really great things about the way that's done. So yeah, I thought that, definitely love that sort of thing about it. And I think even when you come right to the start where Riley, the little fella, at the party, so just before Riley, you've got the party. And one of the first things you hear, and I don't know if I didn't pick this up in the cinema or I only picked it up on the earphones, is as the brother is walking in to get him, and this is kind of the prologue, you actually hear someone say, he's on something, mate. What's he on? And you can hear that.
Yeah.
And so you've got this, like, it's set up for this kind of this reading pretty prominently, pretty early on. And then obviously you have the prologue, which just shit goes hectic real fast. And then later on you finally make the links. But even then, when it comes to Riley, after that, he's waiting for it to be picked up. His mate, is it James, I think, is talking about cigarettes. And Riley's like, nah, don't do that, like, put it out. And so even that gateway element of cigarettes leading to pot, leading to whatever, it's all there. And it's very traditionally structured in that here's this, and things will just continue to escalate throughout. And you're constantly getting these references to it. And I think it's really heavily there. But again, it's all linked to the needs for connection. For Riley, it's not so much the connection, it's the approval of the older kids, because that's who he's hanging out with all the time. And it's, and I guess that's where that peer pressure aspect comes in, and kids at parties, kids not listening to their parents, kids in trauma, and how that can spread through a group, and it gets to the wrong kid and it's a big problem. So
yeah, because when Riley is having that,
no, go ahead.
When Riley's having that conversation with his friend while they're sitting out there, he lights the cigarette. There's that one moment where I can't remember who makes the comment, but they ask the question like, do you get cancer from the first one?
Yeah.
That whole idea of like that one, if you think about it, is part of the process to whatever that downfall is. Whether that's emphysema, cancer, anything like that. And that's kind of what that first hit from the hand is for a lot of them, where you see that other people is, oh, this is cool, this is fun, this is a game, and they never touch the hand. It's, oh, this is fun and entertainment, kind of the same way as, well, you know what, here's probably the best thing that kept me, or I should say keeps me from doing anything like that. One is the scene from Pulp Fiction with the heroin overdose. And the other one is one joke from Sinbad that he told back at either in the late 80s, early 90s or something. But he said, if you ever think about doing drugs, doesn't matter what type of drug it is, watch somebody else do the drugs. However they behave, however they act, do you want to act that same way? And if the answer is no, don't do that drug. Now, I'm paraphrasing and adding a little bit more to it, but he was basically saying, like, somebody wanted me to do this, and I saw them do it, and I immediately said, there's no way. I'm not doing this. Where some of the kids at that party or at those parties, you get the understanding that they're not touching it, but they're enjoying the show because, just like you would see a friend of yours get drunk or get high and do something stupid, you're like, God damn, I hope I don't look like that when I've been drinking. But you're still laughing at that friend for being silly or doing something stupid. I know I've been that person a few times, either saying like, oh my God, that's so ridiculous. Or I'm that person that next day of, you won't believe what the hell you did last night. And that's kind of what you get from this, where they're seeing a friend get possessed or just a party goer get possessed. And they see how kind of freaky and weird it is. But there's also that aspect of, is it real? Are they really high? Are they really possessed? You know what? Let me try this shit to see if it's real. So, that's not how somebody behaves when they're on coke. That's not how somebody behaves when they're on weed. That's not how somebody behaves when they're on meth. No, let me try it and then you realize that your experience is going to be different. You're going to run into a different ghost. You're going to run into a different demon, whatever it happens to be. And you see it. And that, in all honesty, that was probably the freakiest thing for me, where you see like a gentle interaction and then you see something that is ridiculously violent and consuming, especially with the case of Riley, where they all have that reaction of like, oh shit, we're all going to be in trouble. Aside from let's get Riley some help, it's like, oh shit, we're going to be in trouble. The same way that if you gave somebody some drugs, which we've seen these movies and TV shows before, where that younger brother or that one friend who is very straight-laced finally does drugs and they OD. Yeah. Everybody's concern is, oh shit, we're in trouble. Not, oh shit, I need to get this person some help. I need to make sure that they're safe. I need to do all these other things to plus it's also the stupidity of being a kid.
Yeah.
You don't know what to do sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, could you imagine being in that situation? You'd just be like, we're so dead. We're so dead. But as well,
most definitely.
We have to.
I'm not worried about the demon. I'm worried about my mom.
Yeah, right.
Well, and especially if you don't know what really happened, like if you've never done it, you're questioning if it's real. Like you wouldn't be worried about demons at all. And it would just be like when your friend's really drunk and like sets something on fire. You just want to get the fuck out of there. I was never there. I was somewhere else. Like I thought they did this mentality so well. It makes so perfect sense. But it's also like, especially Riley, when he beats the shit out of himself, like that's such a level that there's nothing you can do. Like you can call the ambulance, but that's it. You can't do anything else. So I also really just liked how far they took it, so that it's not even a question. There's nothing you can do. I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and that scene in particular, it is fucking brutal. Like even watching it the second time, as I was saying, I knew that was going to happen, and then just sitting there watching it, even on my couch, I was just like, "Oh man, this is bad." Like, you know, and like,
Right.
I've seen it before. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know when it's going to stop, but I'm still sitting there cringing at like the brutality of it. And I think that's the other thing that the movie does quite well. Although it's got this tension, that those spikes, and there's probably 3 or 4 of them that come through that are pretty like intense scenes, and they come with more regularity towards the end, as they should do. They're really effective, particularly in like the mood I was in, sitting there watching it in the dark with earphones on. Like, and yeah, it was good.
Riley's scene in particular just felt to me like it's one of those scenes that if you shot it differently would lose its impact. So some scenes like or some filmmakers might like just do it slower or like really zoom in and show him like reaching for the eye so that you'd like build tension. And I get what they're thinking with that kind of stuff, but this fervor that this does this with made it so much more terrifying. When he reaches to pull out his own eye, like it flicks. It fucked me up. That's what I'm trying to say. It fucked me up so much I can't say it, you know. But it's the quickness and the intensity with it that you don't lose by taking these other shots or changing it. You know, it's just so fast and furious. But like it's it's just so fucking good. And we watch horror all the time. So when something actually affects me like that, I'm sincerely impressed. And he doesn't even get his eye out, you know, he's just trying, and it totally fucked me up.
And I think that again, it's testament to how tight the screenplay is, because Riley's really set up. Even we go back to that first thing, he's knocking back the cigarette, and he when he uses the word elvish to describe something, his mate's like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And he's like, "You know, elves, like fantasy stuff." And but what you're getting here
it's like,
is,
have you not seen who the mom is?
yeah, right. But he's a good boy, and I think we get this pathos from him all the way through. And because, you know, he's having that conversation straight off in the car with Mia, he's really worried about the kangaroo, which is where that comes in. Also, point of note, steering wheel on the correct side of the car. Thank you. But yeah, so he's a good kid, and he's the kid that, you know, your parents think you are, and they're really worried about when you're at these parties and there are drugs going around and there's all this stuff happening. Riley's the one who's getting hurt, and that's and we see that. We see him as a little brother because we see him more with Mia looking after him as Jade's little brother. She knows he's actually a pretty cool kid, nice kid. Jade's very self-absorbed with her boyfriend, etc., etc. And all of this pathos that it builds when it hits, you know, because even the first time Mia does it, he's like, after she singled him out, they like you, and then he's like, oh, he's the adoration in his face, and the acting's great. When someone says, how was it? And she's like, it was amazing. And then, you know, they're having this chat later on. He's like, you know, what did it feel like? And she's like, it's incredible. And he really looks up to her. He wants her approval massively, which is why probably he wants to do it. You know, his connection into Mia in the film. And I think that the screenplay really sets up that scene to be so brutal, because I don't know about you, but I like Riley. He's a nice kid. You know, I could imagine him, you know, as a kid in class. I'm like, oh, what a good kid, you know, like, and then this has happened to him.
He's the one person I felt bad for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
Like,
yeah,
like, you know, Jade, I didn't really care for. Oh gosh, now I forgot the main character's name. Mia.
Yeah,
Mia, I didn't feel bad for, because you never get to see this moment where she's not saying she's not a good person, but you never get this moment where it's like, oh yeah, this is this nice pure person who's not that you have to be pure to have a redemption story, but even the super Christian boyfriend, which I love the mom's line when you know she's trying to catch them having a party. It's oh yeah. So what time's the party? What party? You drinking? You brought some alcohol? I don't drink. And I know that kid too, as far, you know, not just Riley, but I know that kid where it's like, I've never done anything. Like that kid was me. Like aside from being like the really religious part, like not drinking, not smoking, not really going to like I didn't even go to parties in high school, but that straight laced, I'm just worried about school. And if a girl wants to touch me, that would be awesome. I would love that. But you see how there's this interaction that's taking place where the mom's like, "Oh, are you drinking?" "No, I don't do any of that stuff." But her response to the daughters is like, "Yeah, he's coming over, but he can't come over. You guys can't do this. Blah blah blah." He's really religious in this. He still has a penis. I'm sorry, he's still got a dick. She was straightforward with it. It was like he's still got a dick, and that right there encapsulates, I guess, a more modern parental look as far as like I'm not going to talk to you about these things. I know what's going to happen because I was your age. I'm not going to hit you with this bullshit of, well, you got to stay abstinent. You got to do this. You got to get right with blah, blah, blah. I know what kids do. I know what you guys are up to. Just no drugs, no drinking. And lo and behold, the thing that they get involved in is, I honestly would have said, you know what, you guys should have just had an orgy here because that would have been much better for you than summoning demons.
Yeah,
but I have a feeling that mom had a boyfriend she had to go see.
Yeah, maybe. Sorry, I dropped it a couple of times there. It's really funny. I'm not sure whether it's an outtake or a deleted scene because they're kind of together on the 4K. But in that scene you're talking about, when she says to him, "My daughter's vagina is off limits."
Yeah.
there's an outtake or a deleted scene. I hope it's an outtake, or actually I hope it's whatever. I don't care. Where he turns around and he goes, "What about yours?" And the mum walks off like, "Get
the fuck out of here." No.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. I was like, "What?" And I can't, like, from the reaction of the other kids, I kind of thought, but they played. It must be because then they played it off where, and then she says, "Mum, get out of here, or I'm going to kill everyone." So it continues. So whether it's improvised and as a laugh, because I guess it's a bit out of character for the Christian boy, but also he's not that innocent. It's a facade,
Right.
It's a great line though.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah. Pretty funny. But I think with what you're saying about Mia, the whole time we don't kind of get the sympathy because she's so detached. We just kind of see her as this person removed, and all the time they're working to keep her detached from everyone, and that just becomes more and more like. Even I was just doing some analysis in it on before, and I was watching some stuff, and there's a really good YouTube video, and it talks about the use of color in the film, how everyone else is in different shades of blue and she's constantly yellow and she's constantly detached, and the different techniques used around Mia that we get all the time are separating her from this group. And it pays into, why don't we feel sorry for her? Do we just see her like we know she's a victim? We know we've got this pathos for what she's going through. We know she's experienced horrible things and had to deal with a lot, but everything about her, she's always separate. And you see it again at the funeral. She's sitting by herself, dad's inside, she's outside. I guess you can look at that and be like, that was in class, and the kid was like, "Oh, well, we know dad's got this knowledge about the fact that it was a suicide and he hasn't shared it." And so she's on the outside of that. Plus she's feeling on the outside of her family group. She's feeling lost. She's looking for connection. She's got nothing. I'd be like, "Hey dude, that's brilliant." So I think it's structured to give us that impression of Mia where, as things go on, because she's also has that character shift where, the demons expose her flaws and are able to actually take control in the end and ask her to act. Whether they get what they want out of her, I guess, is up for debate. I kind of think maybe they did. But yeah, interesting to kind of consider it in that way as well. So
yeah, I didn't even think about the color.
Students sound brilliant.
Yeah, well, this kid didn't say it, but if they said that, I would. But like, honestly, man, they're so incredible. Like, it's literally this school where all the kids in the suburb that they apply to get in, and it's a state school, so it's a free education school. It's not a private school, and so it's really competitive. And the kids who come into your class, like, you're just like, wow, some of them are great, which is a marked change from many places I've been in the past, where you're just like, dude, just hand me in something. Just give me something to mark. I don't have to call your parents. Whereas these kids, you're just like, wow, like their assessment is incredible. Like that just had to do it the other week, and they come in and they just do 10 minutes. They just analyze 2 texts for 10 minutes verbally, only bullet points as a note. And then I've got to ask some questions for 5 minutes at the end of it. And it's pretty intense process. And they're so good. Like the things they come out with, they read Never Let Me Go and watched Gattaca and these texts and their insights are just so cool. And it's so interesting to see, like, this kind of place that makes you go, you know what, the world will be all right. These kids are great. We just got to not fuck it up for them first. And, yeah, it's really nice to see that kind of thing. But I wouldn't be if they analyze this, they would come out with the kind of stuff I mentioned there, because I think it's pretty surface level, to be honest. But it's the kind of stuff that when you start looking at the techniques and stuff afterwards, it really is pretty important to the film, I think. But
Nice.
Would either of you have grabbed the hand?
Nah.
Yes.
See, I knew James would. James already knows my answer.
Yeah.
So
Did you do a Ouija board ever?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, too many times. I think in high school I would have grabbed the hand. In college, I would probably have grabbed the hand, and today I would not.
Okay.
But I think that's also why this movie works so well. The audience, the age of the people they're doing this with makes the absolute most sense. It's just beautiful. Like if you did this with a bunch of adults, it would work, but it would be weird. I mean, it actually might be a fun follow-up film if it was like, some party favor and it's like, moms and dads away from kids for a little bit, but I don't feel like it's the same. When you do it with teens, like everything you do as a teenager is just like mind blowing. Like, oh my God, did you hear this song? It's perfect in every way, So I think
it's speaking directly to me.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, it's just Coal Chamber.
Yeah, right. But everything is some fantastic experience and bigger than it is. But you're also like, you think you're like finding the answers to life and all this bullshit. Can you tell I have 3 boys between 18 and 21? Anyway, so it's so beautiful when something fits the ages this well. Like, like a slasher can happen to anybody and the slasher will still work. Like, we use teens for a reason because they're hot and you have the sex stuff and all that stuff. Whereas if a slasher came into my life, he would just wait till I go to sleep. But something about this particular method of the hand, everything just works so good with teens, and the addiction thing works well with teens. And I don't know. I fucking love it. It's so good.
I think there's a really cool box set DVD of Blu-ray 4K you can get. It actually is the hand, but it's like wildly expensive, so I didn't get it. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So you can have that there. And I think talking about the hand and everything working so well with this age group, when you come into the hand itself as a symbol of what it is, and the film kind of explores this a lot too, is like the connection. You're literally holding a hand, which is, one of those kind of like really fundamental human experiences, right? Like, so there's that, and the fact that act of holding a hand, having that feeling of connection, palm to palm, was it Juliet says palm to palm is kiss, blah 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 blah. And that for me, that moment of just really connecting on that fundamental level as well is there, and you see it all through the film. There's that scene after Riley's bashed himself up in the car where Jade goes to grab her mum's hand and her mum moves her hand away, and you see it a lot of time. Even a lot of times you see the demon coming in first. You see the hand before you see the face, and it's another thing that they, as a motif, they keep it running through the film, and I think it works really effectively. The hand is what gets broken for Jade when she puts it to save Riley from killing himself on the thing. He bites the hand. It's all there, and I think again, reading it on this analytical level, people say it ruins films, but I think it really gave me more to this film as well when I started looking at it. And even if the choice is, I think that these guys, this is their first movie. They did a great job with it, I think, and just to look at all those little things that your teachers would tell you, oh, put this in, put this in, and then we all write and we all forget it. They've remembered it, and it's more effective because of it. And I think it's a really great one to look at on that level of, these are the ways, this is how symbolism should work. This is how this should work, and everything comes together really well, I think, in doing that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and even the hand itself. I was looking at some images of it right now of the hand, and it's interesting. I was expecting to say something to the effect of, I don't know, maybe talk to me in different languages, but I remember one of the images that I saw, or I should say, one of the glances I saw of the hand. There was something that said, "I miss you." And I decided to look up some of the other things that were on there, and there are some names on there. Then there's no, 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 no. At least let me go. The bunch of things on here, and it's interesting to think about the life that this hand must have had and continues to have. Because even the explanation of where it came from is a little bit dodgy.
Yeah, right. It came from these guys who gave it to me, and they just said, just keep it. But while you were speaking, sorry, what's my mind going? Because I've just had like a really strong coffee. Sorry. But imagine if it's not kids actually writing on it, but the writing on the hand comes from the kids who have been trapped and possessed by it, and that's their screaming, and it does the writing. I'll be interested to see if there's anything that Riley says on there that's written on there.
Oh, I like that.
Because that'd be cool. Sorry, that was a complete deviation from what you were saying, Don.
So but No.
Yeah, but the story, like, of where it comes from, it's really shifty, and it's always, got it from a mate who got it from a mate who passed it on, and and you're seeing that moving through, which again is that whole kind of story of where did the kids get the drugs, where did the kids get the alcohol? Oh, they just got it from a mate. It's all this secondhand kind of stuff, and I think that's reflected in that as well. Because I think there's like Cyrillic or Russian on there. I'm just going to make the wild assumption that it's Russian. It looks boxy and drawn. But, yeah. So interesting there, but I thought all that was really good, and then all of that coupled with the sound of this film and like the way it's used, that you're constantly hearing these kind of this demonic babbling and screaming and all this sort of stuff that's there, as well as the demon itself that is possessing Mia, who is also as afflicted as Riley, but she's not harming herself in that visceral, physical beating way. She's kind of, drawing deeper into using the hand again and again and again. And so that's who it's, again, the hand metaphor, who it's really got a hold on, is her. And is Riley kind of bait for her? I think is an interesting question as well. Because you can look at this idea here where it's using the mum. We said it's leveraging the guilt through the mum, and then you've got this idea that the demon, which is changing back to its original form, this drowned woman, which is responsible for some great scares as well, and all this sort of stuff is really powerful. And again, I've used that method, the hold it has on her. So I think that it's pretty smart. I'm really waffling now because I'm talking too much, but yeah.
No, I think that you hit many, many things at once. And when you talk about the sounds, the sound that gets me the most in this is the constant like gurgling or drowning or whatever you want to call it. That sound is so perfect and so gross. And yet it's kind of masterful writing of reminding the viewer what's happening.
Yeah.
Just don't buy into this, because why would her mom have this sound? I think that's such a nice little touch.
Yeah, and we've seen the drowned woman, obviously, taking her to start with. So we know what she looks like, and we've got that reminder, because it is really easy in this film to be like, that is her mum giving her advice. And so this is where that question kind of comes in with, I guess it's the most obvious metaphor of the monkey on the back, the drug metaphor being like a possession metaphor. And in here, it's constantly driving her back to the hand. You've got to go in. You've got to help Riley. You've got to do these things. So it's giving her this kind of this hero's quest, which is really a trap, because the way the film ends, it's they've already given you the flag that if you die, they get to keep you. If you die if they're out of you. And yeah, so at the end of the film was big spoiler alert, obviously, which I know we do here. Well, it's not completely 100% answered, but it's pretty much answered. Is that Mia's kicked the bucket, and they've got her, and I think that's what's pretty interesting. That was my understanding of it, anyway. People may differ, but yeah. So she's trapped. She's gone before it's out of her, and Riley's okay because once they've got her, they don't need Riley. They wanted her because she's the one who's got the trauma. She's the one who's got everything they want to feed on, I guess, which is what you see them doing when they've got Riley. So
yeah, she's vulnerable.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so that's what I thought about that. And I think I think it's a really good way to tell a story because you've got this internal tension. We've got all this pathos here for Riley, probably because Mia's not a sympathetic enough character. She's a character that's so detached that we can see it coming a mile off if we just focus on her. So while she's able to, I guess have that hero's journey of trying to save Riley, she's also damning herself at the same time, which is, one of those good kind of trolley problem questions you see as well. So, yeah.
One thing we sort of skipped over earlier, we were talking about social media and I don't remember how you said it, Zach, but something about just basically how it can instantly destroy your reputation. I don't remember exactly what you said.
Yeah.
And that scene, it's Daniel, right? Who jumps up and does the delete that, that whole thing. Holy shit. That is so powerful. It's universally understood. And that always gets to me in anything I see it in, because I think of the shit that I did or the shit that my friends did, and how I'm so glad that at most there are a couple photographs that I can explain different ways. There's no truth out there that I can't go destroy. And when I look at that and how completely that can destroy what a kid thinks their life is and what their world is, that scares the fuck out of me for my kids, man.
And the fact that there's no escaping it, you can go to a different school to get away from those people, but if that video fucking shows up and they see it, they will use it to bully you. And it's insane how insidious that actually is. And oh man, having done a few things in different roles and things, the biggest thing you ever see at schools is social media, kids doing shit on there to each other, because it's given them, I don't know, maybe there's a metaphor where it's like the trigger of the gun is you're actually removed from the act. You're not really doing it. You're only saying it on the internet, but the effects are the same. And so, just stuff that's just insane. And some of the notes that we've had to flag with Debbie's because my wife's a teacher as well. And we talk about this stuff, but it's man, what is these kids today, their world is just so full on compared to what ours was because of this one factor, the immediacy of it. I still have some pictures here, we'd be in high school having parties at home, and my mum and dad were pretty cool about it. They supervised us as we got really drunk. But then once they'd gone to bed, things got even more hectic. And once it got to the point where someone was passed out, we were we're drawing dicks on them and all that kind of stuff. And kids are doing, boys in particular are doing, a chalk nose and all this sort of hilarious stuff that you go the next day, you go, man, that was a real dick move. But there's a couple of photos, but if we had the immediacy of social media, you can guarantee we would have live streamed that shit. You can guarantee we would have uploaded that shit and been look at this. And it never stays where it is. It always gets shared around. And I think for the young people today, that's a real, we're just old people preaching at them. Hey, just be sensible about this. And it does affect you, And it's dangerous.
It was that need to share, not that need to share it, but that need to record it, have the need to document it as well. Which I loved how, not Riley, but Mia, when they went back and did it at another time, she said, no cameras. And which was weird because she says that they start doing it and then all of a sudden you see their phones are out. I'm like, son of a bitch. See, that shows how that need for social media, whether we're going to post it, whether we're going to share it to each other in DMs or whatever, we need to document this. or to borrow that old phrase, pics or it didn't happen. Or in this case, video, it didn't happen, or live stream, it didn't happen. Because you have to be part of this, and we have to let other people know what was taking place. Because when they originally see that video, they're like, oh, this is bullshit, it's fake, it's nothing, this doesn't make sense. And then they go through it and document it. The documentation isn't needed at that point, but they still do it.
Yeah, it's nuts, man. It's just nuts. And you see it all the time. Hey, everywhere you go, it's filming all the time. But yeah, I think for this group of kids this age and this movie, that commentary, that there's no everything's got evidence, these days. I guess it's an interesting world we're moving into, because where do you go from there? You just got to be used to being on Big Brother, I guess, which is behave yourself. But evidently they're even filming this stuff when they're not behaving themselves, and they're doing these things, and it exists, and you can prove it, and it can be used to harm their credibility or their reputation in the future. And I think that's one of those really interesting parts of this as well. And I think
something that's not even real. with all the AI and deepfakes and stuff.
Did you guys see this? I just saw this in the news today. Obviously, we're recording this a little before it came out, but there was some student who was making deepfakes of his classmates, like porn deepfakes of the girls in his class.
Wow.
And holy shit. I don't know. This stuff doesn't even occur to me. My deep fake would be like Dawn eating cheese. Ha 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 ha.
It's fucked up on so many levels, but also just the fact that I would imagine that's pretty hard to make those deep fakes if it's not just an app, oh, look, my face is suddenly, I don't know, Bruce Willis's face, and I'm in Die Hard. Whereas this kind of shit, I'm sure that there's some serious effort going into that. You don't need to work that hard just to spank your monkey, dude. You can, but it's just so
close
weird.
Your eyes. There's this AI already in your head, deep faking things, buddy. Called imagination.
You sit on your hand. You sit on your hand until it goes numb.
Oh my god.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, what does that mean?
Well, how we were talking about hands and the need for connection.
Oh man.
See, that's going to create a disconnection.
The next talk to me is wildly different.
Yeah, it's called Spank to Me, and
anyway. Jesus. Yeah.
And that's how we got canceled. No. Yes.
Look, since you mentioned that, James, I do have to. I do also find it funny with these teenagers, because in my head I'm thinking, when is somebody going to do something sexual with the hand? I mean, not something full on, but
yeah, just that's what every guy I've ever met would do. Yeah, obviously.
Well, not just that, but the one character, she was I actually liked her, Haley. Because she was just kind of no nonsense, fuck you. You don't want to come, I don't want your friend there. It's not going to be fun. But she's just kind of I don't know if I can trust you guys. But she's straight laced the entire time. And initially I pegged her as somebody she and I would not get along. And then as the movie progressed, I'm this is probably the one person in the movie I would have along with the most. I mean, her and Joss. But she does the cunnilingus sign with the hand, and I think Joss, or maybe even it wasn't Riley, might have been Daniel or somebody, had took the hand and was humping it or pretending it was an extension of their penis and was doing some sexually suggestive things. And I just thought, I'm that never changes. The technology, all these other things could change, but there will never not be a point where people of a certain age and older won't do something goofy, sexually explicit, or related to something. They'll make a sexual joke, they'll do a sexual hand signal, they'll do something, and whenever the opportunity presents itself. So I thought that was a kind of a cool way of showing the youth and showing kind of the I don't know, just the mindlessness of youth. because even with that and joking around with sexual stuff, there's also that aspect of the invincibility of that youth, to where they don't have this moment where they ever see what they're doing as dangerous, which is why they kind of, fuck around with the hand, which is, again, it's a great moment in the movie because none of them think that this is something serious, because they weren't there when the guy tried to kill his brother and then killed himself. And nothing bad has happened since they've been doing this. It's simply a prop that they want to play around with, the same way that they probably would have, I don't know, played with a bong.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, and speaking just on that, there's this fun aspect to it. You've got this whole thing happening again, like in that montage sequence that you're talking about with, in there, you can actually see there's lots of actually little funny little cut shots in there, little snippets. But one of them is actually, you see Mia pull up her sleeve, and so that metaphor is there again. But like this, the fact that it's just so much fun and they're just having such a blast with it is amazing, because they're laughing and they're singing and there's music and it's all just tied in together. And it really just goes with that, that whole consequence-free risk. We've just got to make sure we don't break the rules of 90 seconds and nothing bad will ever happen. And the rules get broken, quite obviously, which, because they're teenagers, which is what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. And it just escalates from there, and it becomes this thing where and even, I guess, even that, you did it too much. So you've got this time limit on what you can do where it's harmless. And then once you go beyond the boundary, well, now you can't escape it. You're addicted. Or if you're not addicted, you're affected by it. And so this fun is tied in with that risk again all the time with this. And I think it's pretty smart, and it ties in that whole thing you see. Sorry, I'm waffling again. But where Mia is like, I keep having this dream where I see myself, but I have no reflection. And, she's losing herself in this. And then, that ties in with the end of the film as well, where you kind of get the moment where she doesn't have a reflection in the afterpiece, and all of this coming through, but just all of this consequence of just fun and just playing. But I really think that the way the kids are presented is really realistic as well.
Yes.
And the acting is great. I'm guessing that kids in your part of the world are the same, but that really resonated with what it would be like here. If you're watching this kind of thing happen, you've got the couple of kids who are on the edge, sitting, as you said, just filming, just watching, not really too keen on it. And then you've got the ones who are the cool ones who are, they have it and they know all about it, and they'll give you all the advice on what to do, and they control it. And, and I guess interesting as well, once control has been lost, the boundary's gone, it's Mia who ends up with the hand, not Haley and Joss, even though it was theirs. And that's all part of the whole, well, we don't want to keep this, you take it, because we don't want to get in trouble. And
exactly.
But
I wanted to correct one thing. I accidentally misgendered Haley. I should have said they, because they're a trans actor.
Yeah, because there's been some stuff. Some country just banned it because of that, didn't they?
Really?
Yeah,
well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Was it the United States?
No, it was Kuwait.
And we're getting that way.
Yeah. How silly. Just like, honestly, like, we wouldn't want this person to portray, like, they're all portraying someone else, and then I don't know, but whatever.
It's an endless rabbit hole that just depresses the shit out of us.
Of just stupidity, right? Like, this is all you're worried about right now. This is a classic diversion tactic. But nuts. But
again, it goes back to it goes back to what I eat doesn't make you shit. What,
we should have shirts that say that.
Yeah. It's so eloquent.
To a buffet.
Oh Jesus, that's great.
Oh my.
So I'm sorry. What else have I got here in my notes? We got that montage. There's that scary scene. Oh, the sucking on the foot.
Oh, that one.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was good.
That was intense.
Yeah. 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 And that's the one in the movie where it got ruined in the cinema for me by those inconsiderate young adults. And I was just like, shut up. Yeah. Because it was like, trying to enjoy this. Yeah. And these kids pretend screaming. And I'm like, I think I don't know. What do you do? You watch it at home. That's what you do.
Yes.
The world is broken.
I still had people interrupting, so it didn't fix it.
Oh, damn it. Yeah, what do you do?
I have a friend who wrote in today. Well, not today, but wrote in. Anton Cancre. He's been on the show before. Check out his Silent Hill episode if you haven't. It's a ton of fun. Anton writes, I dug this movie overall, but the end, I was left swinging on the race issue. The main character is the junkie, and the suburban family that treats her as their own is torn apart by her and the drug addiction issue she brings to the family. In the end, it seemed like the good little white girl is given no choice but to push the bad black girl into traffic to save the purity of her family. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on this, Don. Do you agree with that? Do you?
I disagree.
Do you have something for the reading? All right.
I disagree because I don't feel as though the actress, because there's nothing that's coded to where this actor has to be non-white, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
There's nothing coded with respect to her race, other than, as far as casting the right person to be her father and her mother. As far as with her complexion and things, because that was always like one of those. It was one of the things that the Cosby Show got made fun of for, was because all the kids were different colors, but they wouldn't have matched like with the parents themselves. Anyway, I disagree. I can see the point that Anton is making, or someone would be making with that, but I don't see it that way, because it just happens to be that's who the character was. And it was never a moment. I think the only moment that there's anything dealing with race, and it's really it's a funny line that's delivered by Joss, and I can't remember what he was referring to, but he was like, "No, that's white people shit." And I just started laughing because I'm like, "Oh my God, this is the first non-American movie I've heard somebody say that." And it was delivered so great, but then you had to realize, like, what the fuck are you guys doing? You're summoning demons. Like, if that is not horror movie white people shit, I don't know what is. Because I'm like, you're the one who introduced people to this.
Nice.
Come on.
Yeah.
But no, I don't see it that way.
I fell with both. When I was watching it, I felt what Anton was later talking about. When I stopped and thought about it, pretty much in the context you just said, that it didn't have to be a black family in any way, then it lightened it for me. But as I was watching it, I was like, what the fuck? So I totally get it. And I was very curious if you had more to add to that. Zach, do you have anything to add to that, or would you like to move on to something totally different? No.
I guess it's just interesting. That didn't occur to me in the slightest, maybe because I'm a middle-aged white guy. I don't know. That could be the possibility of that. But I think I agree with what Don said. I think that it was done naturally, and it just didn't flag to me that way. But maybe it wouldn't flag me that way for the obvious reason. I guess I can understand that viewing, and it's probably not entirely wrong. I don't know if that's maybe a little bit more of an American audience kind of perspective. Because like even Joss says on his bio he's from New Zealand. I don't know whether he's Maori or not. I can't make any assumptions on there, so I won't. But he's obviously an islander of some description. I hope I'm not using the wrong words. If I am, please I'm just dumb. That's not for it. I said, is it Samoan on here? You can see it says so. There you go. And there's that side of it, which I think he comes across as very real to me in the kind of boys I've met, in certain places, in different schools, and as myself as a youngster, and there's a lot of Kiwis here in Australia and Samoans here in Australia, and it's a real mixed cultural pot. So again, I don't know. I think the brothers. Philippou is the directors. Philippou, I'm not sure. I'll have to check that as well. I'm guessing Greek. I'm just going to guess. But so again, it's all really multicultural, and I don't know if that reading's there or not. I don't know. Can you tell? I just don't know. I could have said that in one sentence. I don't know.
We could do most of this podcast in like 10 minutes, most episodes, but we don't. So you don't need to either. No, but I think for me, it was, I think it really feeds into the American audience thing you were just talking about. And I get so used to so many shows having like the white family that takes in the non-white person and makes them part of the family, even though they're never really part of the family. Right. And so I think that was already prepping me, like, because of other stuff I watched, that I focused on that with this. And so yeah, I just wanted to know what you guys thought. And I think that you really summed it up and destroyed it simply by pointing out that there's nothing that makes them have to be black. She's not from the projects in Chicago or some shit, where it's already heavily, there's only one person to cast for this, So yeah, that's also a very long way to say I agree. And I totally see where Anton was coming from, but I like that you guys have put that to rest for me.
I mean, I guess just because you don't have to be right or wrong with it. It's a reading you can put into it. You could totally draw that out of it. I think it's valid. But whether
we have to fight about it later on Twitter, so we have to pick a side. Damn it!
You might get your engagement back if you start a big shit fight like that. You just tag Elon in a discussion like that. He'll have his say. Can't help himself.
He'll claim that he invented this podcast. So. And then podcasting altogether.
Well, didn't
one thing I learned when I invented podcasts is that
weird. Oh man.
Now I want a shirt that's a picture of Elon that says I'm something of an African American myself.
Wow. You're gonna get it made. It's gonna get made.
He lives in America and he's from South Africa. I'm sure he could probably claim it. Like, technically, God.
When I disappear, you'll know why.
No, there are other reasons why you'll disappear. It won't be that.
Check out my new book, Trumpus. Oh, anyway, so.
Oh, damn. Yeah. What was I going to say as well? Sorry, I'm just kidding. Oh, the other thing that they do really well in this movie is all the pathetic fallacy, the rain, the water that you're hearing, which ties into that gurgling drowned lady demon, which is really interesting as well. Because I guess when it starts the funeral, which a place you might expect them to have the pathetic fallacy of rain, it's a nice bright sunny day. It's a very Australian kind of day, and then as Mia is drawn further and further out of her normal world, you're seeing this a lot. The first time she uses her hand, there's rain, and you hear that gurgling sound and all of this that's going on all the time. And by the end of it, it's really, really kind of prominent. Again, the use of the water and all that sort of stuff as well, which as the mum is slowly becoming more demonic, which I think was another great touch. She never looks the same way twice. It's always as the demon is becoming more and more prominent. And you see it's often at night as well, like that scene where she's cuddling the hand and the mum is cuddling her in the bed as well. I thought that was pretty powerful. And just this idea that in there after you've had this moment where they've gone to actually find the brother from who lived in the prologue, the older brother, and they're like, well, maybe it's time you stop fucking up people's lives, Joss. And so you've got that happening in there. You weren't his friends. Real friends would have seen it was fucking him up. Now you stop fucking up people's lives, And so there's this. But then she goes back and she's this connection. She's seeking this connection, but it's also this moment that because it's after Riley, obviously, where she's gone to the hotel, not the hotel, the hospital. There's a massive difference between the two, and the mum has basically told Mia to piss off,
Right.
and through her seeking this connection that she feels like she doesn't have, she's actually broken the one connection she's got. You know, this is her kind of pseudo family. It's her adopted family, and she's a part of them. She's there all the time, and mum knows her and treats her like, you know, like part of the family. And this connection has been broken by this addiction to this thing, and then she falls deeper into that. So it's that cycle we were talking about before. And again, you know, it all escalates further and further from there, or descends further and further. It's a downward spiral, I guess. And the hand is what she always reaches for, that salvation that she can have in that connection. Well, I've got mum here, and mum will embrace me no matter what else. And I think again, it's really, really intense. And she has that, you know, journey through, and it's clever stuff. I like it. I think it's really cool. But maybe, you know, it's interesting how much of this is actually there in thought when it's made, and how much is what we read into it. But
well, I mean, that's the beauty. We all bring our own experiences and our own core beliefs and our own memories or whatever else to anything we watch. And I talk about that a lot with horror and like what scares people, right? Like you'll see movies and people are like, oh, this is the most terrifying thing ever. And other people are like, that was boring as shit, you know, or, you know, just anything like that. If you already fear something, it's going to tap that fear and it's going to escalate it. Right. And the same thing with all of this. Like if you had that group of friends growing up, then this is probably going to hit you harder if this is the kind of stuff you did. Whereas if you lived alone on a farm with your family, like you're probably not going to connect with this the same way, you know? So I always, to get back to what you were saying, I always go with, I don't even know if it matters what authors and screenwriters and artists put into stuff. It matters, of course. But if I put in a whole bunch of shit that you don't understand or connect with, it's lost anyway. So every reading is individualized and every reaction is individualized. And I mean, I'm getting into, I don't know, some shit we could talk about in a upper class English class, but like, you know, just I don't know. I always find it fascinating when we're like, oh, is that what they meant? Like, does that matter? I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good view. I know I like that because, you know, it's there and it's what we've got. But yeah, you just said that. Should we talk about the kangaroo again?
Sure.
Because
this is where I would run it over. No, I'm kidding.
Would you?
Go ahead.
Would you run it over?
I couldn't. It would destroy me. Like maybe if I lived there. Okay, so like I could hit a raccoon and I would still be sad. And raccoons are like fucking everywhere where I grew up. They're a menace, right? And I would still be really sad. I've run over a rabbit and literally pulled over to the side of the road and cried. So I absolutely could not kill this kangaroo.
Well, James,
I'm tearing up right now, Don. My God.
No, you brought up a rabbit, and I'm going to tell a story I haven't told.
This is where Don says, sometimes you got to kill the kangaroo. Let's go ahead.
Take my deep drag of this cigarette that I'm smoking. Let me tell you about those kangaroos, bud. No, like this was years ago, probably like 10 years ago, or maybe even well, no, it's definitely more than 10 years. Anyway, when I was living in Arizona, I was driving to work one morning. A bunny, you know, it ran across the street, and I swerved to try and hit it. Now, this wasn't like in traffic. This was in between.
Why
like
did I take a drink right then?
It was in between these two, you know, like commercial areas. So it was almost, it wasn't for through traffic. It was more like if you lived there or if you worked there, you're the only cars that would be going there. So anyway, swerve to try and miss it. I heard the noise of my car hitting it, and I immediately felt bad. Looked in the rear view mirror, a fucking coyote ran across, snatched up the newly hit rabbit, and then ran the fuck on.
Wow.
And I immediately as goofy and as corny as this is, I can't believe it came out of my mouth. It's like, God damn, fucking circle of life. And I kept trying to work. But I don't know if I could. I think if I were in this situation, I mean, hypothetically, I don't know. But in the situation, I believe I would. Especially, you know, the way that Riley describes is like it's in pain, it's crying. And from him saying that, you know, you already established that this kid is a good kid because he has compassion. He wants to put this thing out of its misery. He doesn't want it to suffer. And you know, Mia's character is kind of like she doesn't know what to do at first, and then eventually, you know, drives off and leaves it there suffering, which is unfortunately, I don't want to say the wrong answer, but it's not the best outcome because you still left this animal out there and there may not be anybody else there driving through to come and put it out of its misery. Because you don't want people and animals to suffer.
Yeah, right. And I guess the other side of that, I don't know. I don't think I would do it either. Like, I always get really annoyed when I see animals on the road. I think we talked about this last time. It's hugely depressing. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's one of those things. Like, I remember I found like a little pinky mouse as a kid, and that was just, you know, there were ants crawling on it and stuff. And I put that out of its misery because it was obviously suffering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that I still remember that so vividly. It still kind of destroys. I've even written a short story with that in it, you know, like, so it's something that exists. But then I guess, and that's making the bigger connection now is, you know, my mum died really young. She was only 55, and we had to turn off the life support. And you've got to make that decision, you know. And yet here I am saying, could I do it for a kangaroo? And having been there, and I think a lot of that, I think, is one of the reasons why this movie resonates with me as well, because I kind of that doubt, that kind of stuff that I've got going on with everything that happened in that aspect of my life really feeds into my viewing of this movie, because I have some similar questions to what Mia had, you know.
Right.
And so that's really interesting, because sometimes there's these questions with no answers, I guess. But I guess that's what leads on to, you know, her search for connection. I'm lucky that I wasn't a child when it happened. I was older and able to sort of process it as an adult. If I was a kid, it would have really, really fucked with me. You know, I guess it still did. But actually, in that short story, which really, I think, is like I tied that link there to process that trauma there, and it was putting an animal out of its misery. Which, bringing it back to the film, is it's really telling that after the character shift, which we haven't kind of talked about that pivotal scene yet, but after Mia's character shift, where she is going to follow through on the demon's kind of desire to have Riley put out of his misery, she sees that kangaroo there. And you've got this connotation of, is this what Riley would have wanted? Because he was the one arguing for her to put it out of its misery.
Right.
And you know, she's thinking about that, and you can see that torment, that screaming, that everything that's happening in that scene there. And what she ends up doing is consistent with her actions in the start of the film, and I guess that's really important because my reading of the end, I know, was Mia pushed or did she jump herself? I didn't think of a push from Jade. Which is when we were talking about the reading before. No, she pushed it. I thought that Mia had that moment where instead of pushing Riley down, she sacrifices herself. But that was, I could be wrong. So
no, that's what I took from it as well.
Yeah.
What about you, Don? Did you think that she was pushed, or?
I wasn't sure. You know, it was one of those things where it's that. It's vague. The vagueness allows you to see it either way. You can even look at the body positioning that she has, you know, as she has her ghost moment, similar to when Patrick Swayze's character realizes, like, oh shit, I'm dead. But then also the way in which her friend, it doesn't seem as though, I pushed her to save my brother. It's all I got a mix there to where her reaction was almost Jade's reaction was almost, oh my God, that was so close to happening. I can't believe she jumped in front of the traffic, as opposed to, fuck you, Mia, for trying to kill my brother.
Yeah, and I think, sorry, I'm really.
No, go ahead.
The reaction of the other vehicles, no one goes chasing after Jade at that point,
right?
Which to me that suggests that she hasn't shoved, but who knows? I mean, it is vague, so yeah. But
and it also depends what Mia saw. Like, from Mia's point of view, she could have seen herself pushing him into traffic, even though that wasn't happening, because she sees all sorts of shit that doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know. I love the ambiguousness of it, but that was kind of where I went with it. Was, what did Mia see when she dies? Did she
the demons behind her? At that moment, the demons behind her putting its hand on her shoulder at that moment as well, and I think that's the last we see. So that might be the demon to push. So if you die before you get them out, they get to keep you. Maybe that was they wanted Mia all along, and Riley was just bait. And if they could get Riley, fantastic. Yeah, demon party. But if they can't, they've got Mia, and it's Mia is the one who's being sucked down, and Riley is the unfortunate victim who's been hurt through this. But
I totally forgot that's the last thing you see. So yeah, wow.
I could be wrong. It was a couple of nights ago.
No, I'm pretty sure.
I think there's, because you've got the wheelchair demon is like laughing, and then I think you see the hand come over the shoulder. I think, could be wrong. But yeah, but again,
either way, I don't think that Jade pushed her, but outside of that, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, true.
I think Jade would only care about saving Riley. Yeah,
I agree. Yeah, and then obviously leading up to that pivotal scene with the father, which is, again, you mentioned she's seeing wild shit at this time, like she's totally tripping balls on this possession. She's using it all the time. She's having these psychotic episodes. And this is another one where the deleted scene ties in. I understand why they cut it, but you've got this moment where the father is bashing on the door, and you've got the sound of the scratching, which is another thing we haven't kind of touched on, the scratching in the movie all the time that you're hearing of mum trying to get out the door with the wood under her nails. But when she has this moment where she thinks that she's stabbing the demon that's on her, it's dad. And and then you've basically then got sorry, where's I going with this? She's totally out of her mind. She's done this, and then from there it's like there's no turning back. You've committed this mortal crime, this human kind of travesty. You've killed your father. What do they call it? Patricide. And yeah, so that's when she goes off, and the demons kind of know they've got her, and they're trying to get her to take Riley as well. And whatever happens from there happens, because she tricks Jade into coming over, and it's a complete 180 on her usual character self, which is she's sorry and she's caring, and even though she thinks she's doing this for the reason of saving Riley, putting him out of his misery, the kangaroo, she doesn't actually follow through with that like she doesn't in the start, and you've got this whole thing there. So yeah, that scene leads directly to this, and it's all pretty intense. I think by this point of the film, things are pretty hectic, pretty intense, and the tension is really, obviously as you'd expect, going full on. But I think, sorry, do you guys want to say anything before I continue?
No,
Sorry, keep going.
But then from here, right, you then got the ghost moment. And I think what I really liked about the ghost moment is where you see her number one fear, that this horrible nightmare she always has is not seeing her own reflection, because she's completely lost herself throughout this process. And that's this bringing the drug metaphor back. Her character's changed, her reflection's gone, and she's completely lost to what it is that's possessing her. I think that's really nice use of, narrative techniques to convey this. But then you've got this really nice moment as well where the father is leaving and the escalator goes up. And I thought, well, they had a choice where they sent that. Did they put the arrow going down or up? Was up to them, and they went up. So, Dad's obviously, my reading is he's gone to heaven, which, whether you believe or not, whatever. Is I think that in the narrative that was there, and then you've got right, and then of course you then get she sees the light, and I thought that was a really cool way to. Guess who's a ghost now? Who's looking for a reason to come out, and so I thought that was really cool. But I just talked the whole thing through. Sorry.
No.
There was a part of me at first when Dad's walking down the hall where I took it as, he's going home. He's leaving the hospital. And then when he went up, I was like, oh shit, because you don't go up in hospitals. There's no hospital where you go up to get out that I'm aware of. You always go down to first floor, whatever. And so I thought that was a very interesting choice. But what I also liked about it is that, again, you can kind of read it either way. He might not even be real. He could just be in her whatever world she's in, right? But I took it the same way you did. I took it as he's going up, he's going to heaven, he's died, and also because he's in the area where she is. And I took it as anybody there may have died, may have, I don't know, just because he doesn't interact with anybody. I guess that's more it than just him being there. But I don't know. I thought the up was very interesting is what I'm trying to say, and rambling on instead. I only took 5 edibles before this. All right. That's not true.
You took 4.
Maybe. Anyway, continue. What were you going to say, Don?
No. I was going to say it's kind of like I would say because we brought up *Malignant* and *Hereditary* and a couple other movies where people are very divided on it, right? But I say that those movies just like any other movie, you have to watch it more than once to really get what's going. I mean, there's some movies where you're like, no, I'm never watching this again, and it's understandable. But this is one of those movies where you have to go back and watch to see those other things that get pointed out or might have been overlooked, or you come back to the beginning. Just the way that so many things are connected throughout the story, to where it's not just here's something in the first act that doesn't relate to anything else. Here's something in the second act that might relate to something in the third act. Here's the third act, and here's whatever the epilogue is. And hey, here's a cute little bow that we put on it. Whereas this one, you start seeing how all these fibers are kind of woven together, and you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, completely. It's a rich text, it's everything is very tightly woven, and it, it's regardless of whether you like it, I think subjectively or objectively, I always get confused. It's very much very structurally sound, and I think there are a couple of flaws. Well, hang on, why do the demons need to do that? Whatever, just go with it.
Right.
But I think that all of that stuff, all that foreshadowing, all the payoff is really nice. I think it's very there's no real loose ends that are problematic in terms of hang on, what? So
right.
Yeah, because I think that was my first viewing at the cinema, I guess, because I had that viewing. I got to the end, I'm like, I did have a but then watching it again the second time was really, really interesting. And again, I don't know whether it was just because I didn't have to try and listen to it over people talking, or because I listened to it through earphones, which really kind of bring in the surround sound. The sound design of this movie is really cool as well. This, especially as Mia descends further into her madness, her trauma, her however you want to call it, her grief, her addiction. The sounds of the scratching on the door, and that's really evident throughout the knocking. Whenever the demons come, there's a knocking that you hear. Beforehand, you hear the rain, you hear the gurgling, or you hear water of some description, and it's all like, you start tying those things together. and you're like, oh, it's that's not mum, which is obvious, but also she's really, really in danger. And I think that just adds to the level of tension. And the danger is not just to herself, but to others at that point. And you get that moment where Jade is like talking to her mum on the phone. Okay, she's done what? She's dangerous. Get her,
Right.
you know. And I think that was really a good way to end it. I think is you saw that, you know, it's about chaos and harm and everything else, and then you can link that back to those metaphors of, well, who is this drug addiction hurting? You're hurting your whole family, you're hurting your whole friendship group, you're hurting all this stuff, which I think is still a valid message for young adults and teenagers in the world, because we all know that someone who's gone down that route, and we're just like, oh, well, bye, you know, like,
Right.
yeah, and yeah, it's interesting, I think, and it's done well. So, yeah.
I can't follow that. Don, do you got anything else in your notes?
No, I just got movie recommendations, man. I'm good.
Sorry.
Zach, do you have anything else you want to touch before we move on to movie recs?
No, I think that's it. I think that covers it, to really be honest. I think we've analyzed the crap out of it. So
Cool. All right. Well, then we will do the part where if people liked this, what else should they watch? And you are up first, sir. Zach.
oh man, you know what?
I realize
Come
you're
back
both
to me.
sirs. So I'm stupid.
I haven't even thought about this one yet because I totally forgot about it. Give me a moment to think. Ask Don.
Yeah, totally.
150.
Oh no, we're not asking him yet. No. I know what happens when he does it. I said early on that this was probably now my favorite possession film because I don't normally like possession films. And on my double feature, I'm going to do another possession film because it's also different. And it's also, it just goes about it differently, but it's not a Catholic-based kind of thing that we normally get, or Christian-based or whatever. It's The Vigil. The Vigil was fucking amazing. Just a great film overall. Really taps into grief and guilt and all these things and culture. And it blew my fucking mind when I watched it. We have a great episode about it with another Zach. Zachary Rosenberg did that episode, so check it out. But yeah, I think if you dig this, you'll probably dig The Vigil as well. So that's what I'm going with. So, Zach, do you want me to come back to you, or do you really want Don to do his 846 movies?
I 472.
as you wrote, as you said, The Vigil, I was actually writing it down. I was like, that's actually a really good one in terms of this possession kind of thing. The Dark and the Wicked actually is another kind of cool one that I think is, if you like this, the tonally, I think they're there. And there's that other Shudder one. And anything for Jacob or something like that. It's the one where the kid is they're trying to save the kids. They've kidnapped the pregnant woman. I totally forget the names of movies and stuff. What's it freaking called?
Jackson. Anything for Jackson.
Yeah, anything for Jackson. That one. I think that's a pretty interesting take on the whole thing as well. And you see some of that more trippy stuff going on. In terms of just, if you like Australian horror and the vibe that it's got, which is a little bit different, I think Sissy is another great one, which is way funnier than this. And I talked about Sissy with you guys before.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a really cool one to check in with. I think it's got some similarities beyond the Kangaroo in the way it, uses young people. I think Hereditary is a good touch point for this as well. I think that tonally it's kind of got some of that stuff too. That's probably it for me, I think. I should have put more thought into it. Yeah. No,
you're good. All right, Don, what do you got?
Okay. First and foremost, Lord of the Rings. Because no, seriously, Beetlejuice. I'm gonna skip the Catholic exorcism type movies. Empty Man, Lights Out, It Comes at Night, The Sixth Sense, It Follows. In the whole Insidious series, for that matter. The Visit, Would You Rather, because there's a horrible eye scene in that movie as well that really makes you uncomfortable. Pray for the Devil, Host, As Above, So Below, The Autopsy of Jane Doe, and last but not least, Jaws.
Nice. I was sitting here wondering, would Jaws come up again? And I'm so glad that it did. Hilarious. All right. Well, I guess that brings it back to you, Zach. You want to tell everybody where they can follow you online and buy your books?
And definitely talk more about the book that's going to be coming out soon.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so actually, as we were talking about this, I realized there's actually a lot of similarities in the book I've got coming out. The Polyphemus, technically November 19. So if it's past then, please go and grab it. I worked really hard on it, and I want people to read it. So that's a book. Basically, it's a Faustian kind of thing with possession. Basically, you've got this death metal band where one of the guys has had an overdose. They've been kicked out of the band. He's desperate to come back in, and he gets, well, this self-help guy, because fuck those guys. Can't stand him. But he's basically, given these process, do these things, do this, and you'll be able to get in, and you have to sort of make your choices. And as he goes further down his own spiral, trying to get back in the band, he'll murder to get back in. And he's basically, he has to get everyone else to agree to another ritual so the demons can have everyone in the band. And if he can't get them to agree, he's going to have to take them another way. And I think that's probably the best way to look at it. So that's out through Darklit Press on the 19th. Not sure when it goes, as I said 1,000 times. But yeah, and I think the other thing that was really interesting in that, like I just mentioned the self-help guys, because I talked about Mum before. One of the things I remember cleaning out her cupboards afterwards, and there was so much shit she had paid for from these fucking self-help guys, like literally thousands of dollars worth of stuff. And it was just a scam, and it fucks me right off. But yeah, that I've got no respect for them whatsoever. So they can be bad guys and everything. Yeah. So that's the book. Yeah, you can find me online on social media. Usually Twitter is the point of call, but I actually deleted it. So Blue Sky, I'm on there. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok, which is hilarious because I have no freaking clue what I'm doing.
Just use it to troll Don, and that'll make me happy.
That works for me.
I got what felt like a lot of views of a lizard in the backyard. So people clearly want to see lizards and not me. I don't know. I'm online. You'll find me. I've got a website, Zachary-Ashford.com. Yeah, everywhere I should be online, you'll find me. And yeah, that's about it for me. So thanks so much for having me.
And if you're at StokerCon in May, you can meet him in person.
You will be.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. We're coming over. We booked the hotel. We booked the flights, importantly. Otherwise, arms will get real tired.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we're really looking forward to that. My wife and I are going to come over, and I guess we'll meet some people we met in Texas earlier this year, and hopefully meet lots more. So James has promised me tacos. So
I'll take you to go get tacos.
We're going to the Lucha. We're going to the Lucha place. It's going to be amazing.
Wait,
you don't get to come now.
Yeah, there's a.
Why are you acting like you know more about San Diego than me, sir?
I only know more about wrestling. That's why we're going to the Lucha place.
No, I forgot about the Lucha tacos. I'll take you to another place, Zach.
Oh, sweet.
Don't trust him. This is a trap. He's taking you to a strip club.
Oh, don't do that.
No. So anyway, I sent my wife it was the Mastodon video for Motherload, and because I was listening to a bunch of stuff on Pandora and it came on, I was like, holy shit, I said I forgot about how insane this video is. So I sent it to her and I said, if we're ever on a game show and someone asks, like, what's your husband's favorite music video? This will be the answer. So it's basically, it's very artistic. And then all of a sudden there's not saying that twerking and stripping isn't, but it was just funny because they went from one form of art to another form of art, like abruptly. And, when I confront her, I said, oh yeah, you see the video I sent you? And she's like, yeah, I have an idea. I know that would be your favorite one. Yeah, I get it. Okay. All right. Goodbye. But no, the place I will take you or take anybody who's willing. They have these great breakfasts at Old Town San Diego. There are two restaurants there outstanding, everything. And they're normally, I won't say they're normally packed, but you have to know the right time to go to get food there. And for a while you had these women who were making tortillas from scratch, and you could get them in different flavors. It's outstanding, and I'm getting hungry thinking about it now, and upset that no one from any college in San Diego has called me to
That sounds
move
great.
there.
That's down. I'm down. I'm down for that. That sounds good.
There you go.
See,
Yeah. Awesome.
Well, cool. I suppose we should do the outro part of this, huh?
yeah. So
All right.
we can all go our separate ways.
All right, here we go. All right, I guess that wraps it up for another week. As always, I'm James Sabata.
And I have eyes like a doll's eye. No, and I'm done.
That was creepy. And we'll see you next week here at thenecronoma.com.